Hello everyone, welcome back to my VersaTuner guide. Today we will talk about fueling. The other day I made a video of the current weather and the roads are still wet and it snows from time to time. So I thought, well, I make the video now and show you what to modify to gain a little bit more power and show you some results in a later video. So in here, in the fuel table, we have mainly the acceleration enrichment 1, 2 and 3, the air fuel ratio table 1, 2 and 3, the closed loop air fuel additive and the deceleration fuel cut, which we will focus on to get, well, a little bit more power. The other tables are not really meaningful for us, at least if you have the stock injectors and if you, well, didn't change anything about your engine. So let's start with the acceleration enrichment. The acceleration enrichment from the factory is actually pretty good. What I like to do is just smooth it a bit out. So as you can see, we have 0.957 in these two rows and we have 0.9414 and then we go to 0.9531, but I like it to be smoothed out, so we go from 0.941 to 0.941 and from 0.941 we go from to 0.9375 and from 375 we go to 375. Then we copy this and apply this value over here and we lean the acceleration enrichment at 3500 RPM a bit out to get more torque down low, because if your air fuel ratio in your current table at 3500 RPM is, let's say, 30.0 and you multiply it by 0.85, you get a really rich mixture of about 11, and that's way too rich for that low of an RPM. So we want that to be within like 12-ish to 1. So we can do 0.8906. These are actually the values that I run in my current table, that's why I'm recommending them. And we copy the whole table and paste them in the other two tables, because we always want the same acceleration enrichment through the gears. Now to air fuel ratio. As you can see in here, these values go really low in air fuel ratio and it will never hit these values, don't be scared, but it will be really rich down in the high or up in the higher RPMs. So what we want to do is lean this whole area out. But first we will focus on the town driving aspect of the table. So in town you will never go above 50% of like throttle application or engine load. So we can actually do 37%. That's what my table is set up, I think. If I look, well, yes. So what I did is up to 3500 RPM at 37% of engine load. I did 14.5 actually, because my engine runs a little richer than normal, and we just gradually enrich the whole area in the higher RPMs. So we go from 13.5 in this row to 13.2 in this row. You can also just go from the last values and set them, the rest of the row to that. But in this case, I don't like it this rich, so we will just lean it out to 13.2. We go from 13.2 to, well, not 13.1, we go to 12.8 in this case. From 12.8 we go down to 12.5. And for the rest we go 12.2, which is 12.17 in this case. So what you can do now is set the whole 43.75 to 62.5% area. Or let's do it another way, because we can interpolate them and make it smooth that way. So we can just do 14.5 over here. Let's go to 14.3 over here. Let's go to 14.1. Go to 14.01. Go to 13.78. Go to 13.38 and 13 point. No, it's 12.98 and 12.4 over here and 12.17 as well down here. So what you did now is you set basically your mid-range. Mid-range is up to 50% in this case. And now you want to set your high range, your high load area, where you will drive the car very hard. And that basically means if you drive your car hard, you have to enrich it if you go in higher RPMs. So let's start with 14.13. 14.13. Well, not 24.13. 14.13, and we go richer down here to 13.49. We go to 13.09, and at this point you probably get what I was meaning with you go richer down. or up in the higher RPMs, you basically want to always step it a bit lower with the AFR the higher you get in the RPMs. So at 13.9 you go to 12.7, which is probably 6.9, yes. And from 12.69 you go to 12.4, which is actually 12.4. You go from 12.4 to 12.2. From 12.17 you go to 11.89. From 11.89 you go to 11.7. From 11.7 you go to 11.4. So that is my current fuel table, how it's set up, and what you want to do, that's what I did in mine, is to select the crossing point of your mid-range to high load and you interpolate them. So you get a smoothed out area in those values. So currently we have 14.1 or 01, 14.01, and we go to 12.4 instantly. We don't want that, we want it to be smoothed out, so we go from 14.01 to 13.49, 12.95, 12.4. So now it's smoothed out, and we can copy this table and paste it in the other tables. As I said, this is my table for like hard driving, hill climbing and cornering and stuff. So if you don't do that and you just want your RX-8 to drive normally and you don't floor it a lot, you can actually stop at 12.17 over here, and you set this whole range at 6000 RPM to 12.17. That's basically more fuel efficient at higher RPMs. You also get a little bit more power because you're leaner, and the engine likes to run a little bit leaner in these areas. And yeah, just try to not go too lean up top. I would say at 12.6 you should stop. That maybe lasts for, well, 2 to 3 runs, and then your exhaust temperatures will get very hot, especially if you have a catalytic converter. So just try to not go too lean. And now we come to the fuel saving aspect of the video in the closed loop air fuel additive. As we talked about the absolute limit in the first video that I've ever made, the closed loop max load is basically in here, and it's 70%. So you can ignore the whole range down here because your closed loop control just goes to 70%. So these values down here, you can zero them out, leave them as B, you can enrich them, do whatever you want. I like to zero them out because they don't matter. And for the fuel saving aspect, you basically want to zero all the values in those two rows, because this is your idle area. You can enrich your idle in these areas. So I did minus minus is for if you want to go richer, positive is if you go leaner. Just think about the air-fuel ratio. Leaner is higher and richer is lower. So I did 0.2940. That gave me an air-fuel ratio of 14.4 to 14.5. The closed loop air fuel additive focus or tries to hit always 14.7. That's, well, in the ECU and you cannot control it really. So I think it has to do with these values, but don't take my word for it. I like it this way because I don't like my engine to run lean in those low areas. So I had it set up this way. I currently run the table just like let's give me a second, like this, I think, across the whole area, so it's never leaned out. But the table before that, where I cared about city driving, was basically rich in these values. Like I said, my idle I wanted to be a little bit richer, so the engine runs a bit better. Then I gradually started to lean it out till here, set it to 0, and then I started with this area at 0.344, and that basically leans out the whole area. You want it down here as well. You don't want to touch these values as well as these values, because these are, if you let off the throttle, your ECU will inject a little bit more fuel to compensate for the abrupt closing of the throttle. So it transitions smoother. So if you now want to smooth that out, you go to this column, row, I don't know the name exactly, so you put in 0.294, 0.147 in this row, and you go to 0 here. So that is your whole cruising area over here. You lean it out and you'll be fine. Next, the deceleration fuel cut for pops and bangs. And if you want your car to pop and bang, all you really have to do is deactivate the fuel cut if you set this value above your ref limiter, or exactly your ref limiter, whatever. You basically always inject fuel, which you will notice in your gas mileage. Not much, but you will notice, and your car will start pop and bang. Most noticeable if you let out your clutch and let it slip a bit. It starts popping and banging. Around 4,000 to 5,000 RPM, it starts a little bit of popping and banging. But above that RPM range, it doesn't really do anything. So I hope this helps. As I said, these are the values I currently run, and I got still good acceleration and everything works fine. So why wouldn't it be for you? If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I try to answer them as fast as possible. And I will see you in the next video, which is probably the ignition tab, if the roads are dry by that point. And if not, I will give you a little bit of, well, throttle control, sensor calibration, load targeting maybe, and the intake air valve control. But till then, have a nice day, or evening, or morning, whenever you watch this video, and I see you in the next one. Thanks for watching again, and bye.